With all the excitement of the MCU's Phase 5 rollout, we're getting confirmations of who we'll be seeing in these new projects. But as new Avengers movies are being teased for Phase 6, we can expect some new heroes will be joining the team very soon. So here are the 10 that I think will get introductions coming up. At number 10, we have a pretty obvious one, Sam Wilson's Captain America. We've already had Falcon as part of the Avengers in the classic films, but this time around we should expect to see him joining the team honing the Captain America mantle. At the end of Endgame, we witnessed Steve Rogers hand off the title to Sam Wilson, and then we get a full Captain America series with Sam Wilson in the title role. So it definitely won't come as a surprise if we see this version of Cap leading the Avengers into a new phase of films in the 6th phase of the MCU. At number 9, we have Blue Marvel. Unlike the previous entry, this is a much less plausible guess, but boy would it be cool to see. I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm pretty shocked that they haven't teased anything for Blue Marvel thus far, even just an appearance, considering he's such a powerful hero with such a cool backstory, and in the comics he currently ranks as one of the most powerful Avengers of all time, even though his run was very short. But unless they bring him into other character storylines in the upcoming Phase 5 projects, it's gonna be hard to imagine how Blue Marvel will build enough hype to join the Avengers down the line. But it's still possible, so Blue Marvel fans, I'll pray with you. At number 8 is Namor. Considering that Namor is currently one of the Avengers in the comics, I feel pretty confident that we'll be seeing him join them during the Phase 5 rollout. Now, I know he's been announced as the villain in Wakanda Forever, but I really think they'd be making a mistake if they didn't find a way to work him into the Avengers anyway. To be fair, Namor has always been on the fence of moral alignment anyway in the comics, so I could easily see him acting as the villain in the new Black Panther film, and then maybe finding some heroic grounds at the end. I mean, it just has to happen. He's just too big of a character in the comics to just have him show up as a one-off villain and then take a hike. At number 7, we have Hercules. This is a very similar situation to Namor because he's being teased as a new villain in the end of Thor: Love and Thunder. But this is actually similar to the comics in that he does initially appear as a counterpart to Thor before turning to good. In fact, Hercules goes back and forth as an antagonistic force in the comics even after bouts of heroism. So, with the Avengers films coming up, it would make sense that Hercules would do the same thing in whatever Phase 5 project he appears in. With Zeus sending Herc off to hunt down Thor after the events of Love and Thunder, I could see a big confrontation going down, but I could also see it ending in some kind of reconciliation between the two characters and therefore with the rest of the Avengers as well. At number 6 is Blade. This is one that I think will definitely happen, mainly because Blade is a current member of the Avengers in the comics and also because we're expecting to see a new Blade film coming out in 2023 featuring Mahershala Ali in the leading role. And it's about time too. Blade did get a movie back in the 90s, but it wasn't part of the current MCU continuity. So to see the character making a comeback in Phase 5 of the MCU is very exciting for fans of the character. And it's going to be hard to imagine that they don't introduce the character to the Avengers at the end of the movie. Throw a comment down below if you're excited to see Blade's new appearances in the upcoming phases. At number 5, we have Ms. Marvel. I have a feeling this one will be more of a light introduction, as in I don't think the character will spend a long time on the team or act in a major role at first, but I think she'll definitely join in some capacity. In the comics, Mrs. Marvel joins the Avengers briefly and sort of takes over Peter Parker's role as the younger, wide-eyed pupil to the rest of the team. With her new show having dropped earlier this year and the new movie The Marvels announced for Phase 5, there's a really good chance we'll see the character gain enough hype and get an introduction to the team. Maybe even at the end of the Marvels movie. At number 4, we have Sersi. During Phase 4, we saw the Eternals get their introduction into the MCU. And even though it was from this current phase, it gave us the backstories of many of these ancient heroes who can now be brought back into any upcoming story without much effort. And out of all the Eternals, only a couple of them have ever had significant runs as part of the Avengers, and that would be Gilgamesh and Sersi. Star Fox also joined the Avengers in the comics, but he wasn't featured in the movie. But out of these two heroes, Sersi was featured more prominently in the Eternals movie as well as in the comics as an Avenger, so my bet would be on her joining the team instead of Gilgamesh, unless the MCU wants to abandon the comics in that regard. The only reason why I couldn't see her getting an introduction to the team in the MCU is that she may be too overpowered, with Captain Marvel also being on the team. But I still think it would be a missed opportunity not to bring Sersi or at least one of the Eternals into the fold in some capacity regardless. At number 3 is Shang-Chi. This one's pretty obvious, and I couldn't be more happy about that fact. It's fair to say that Shang-Chi's introduction to the MCU was a great one and offered the character a dignified portrayal just in time for these new Avengers movies to be rolled out in Phase 6. And with the character having served as a member of the Avengers in the comics, it makes a lot of sense that he'd join in the MCU as well. Perhaps he'll even get another appearance to solidify his place on the team in, say, an upcoming Spider-Man movie? I only say that because, as many of you know, Shang-Chi is responsible for training Peter Parker in martial arts in the comics, so I could see that thread being worked into the MCU in some capacity during Phase 5. Either way, Shang-Chi is an insanely powerful hero who has a history with the Avengers, so we should almost definitely see him joining the team sometime in the upcoming movies. At number 2 we have She-Hulk. This is another entry that I would really bet on. Unless the character's new series is a total bomb, and everyone hates the MCU portrayal of She-Hulk, I would put 100% certainty that we'll be seeing her as part of the Avengers in the new movies. She-Hulk has been a significant member of the Avengers in the comics and has notably appeared in the Secret Invasion and Secret Wars storylines. So, to see her getting a whole series to herself, and then to see that Secret Invasion and Secret Wars will be getting their own projects, it just strikes me as a confirmation that She-Hulk will most definitely find her place as part of the Avengers. And we can probably bet that her introduction might come during Phase 5 in the Secret Wars storyline, if not in her own series first. At number 1 we have the one and only Wolverine. I put him at the top spot not because I'm 100% sure that he'll join the Avengers, but because I 100% hope he will. Much like many of you, I've been waiting for the X-Men to be given a proper appearance in the MCU, and with Secret Wars coming up, I feel like this would be a perfect opportunity for the team to meet a few of the X-Men and hopefully even recruit Wolverine as one of their own. It may be a bit far-fetched to think that the MCU would have time in Phase 5 to introduce the X-Men and then add Wolverine to the Avengers all in one go, but if not now, then when, Marvel? We saw what you did there in Ms. Marvel when Bruno suggests that Ms. Marvel might be a mutant, but until I see Wolverine's claw marks on the side of a building in a post-credits sequence, I won't be satisfied. We need X-Men in the MCU, and if you really want to properly integrate them into the movies, you can go right ahead and give Wolverine a contract with the Avengers while you're at it. Okay, that was the list. What do you think? Did I miss anyone? Leave it all down below in the comments. Who else you think has a good chance of joining the Avengers in Phase 5? And as always, I will do my best to respond to your comments. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I've been your host, Ben Ball. You know the rest. Take it easy.